Welcome back to Wealth Mavericks. On today's episode, we're talking risk, reward, and how making bold moves can get you further ahead.
They need to write their own story. We're here to help them in that process as a co-author, if you will.
People way more regret the things that they never did than regretting the things they did, even the mistakes they made. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined today by Bob Wolf, CEO and founder of Terra Firma. I don't always get him here on Wealth Mavericks, so when I do, it's a treat. Thanks for being here, Bob.
Thanks, Erin. That was kind of you.
So today we're talking about something that Bob is very well versed in, and that is taking big risks. Joe, my co-host here, has a pretty funny way of describing Bob's tolerance for risk, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast. The clean version is Bob has never been afraid to take a big swing, and it has paid off. So today, Bob, I want to pick your brain a little bit about how you approach risk, how you decide what's worth it, and what people who are listening might need to change about their mindset toward risk if they want to get bigger results. So first off, when you reflect on your career up to this point, how do you think your unique approach to risk has impacted the life and business you have today?
Such a great question. If I had to pause and think about it, it was definitely not something I was born with. I think it was something that was definitely taught through myself, learned, if you will, taught and learned by myself, by reflecting on decisions. One of the things I do appreciate about certain things in our lives, people who are successful before us, is being able to pick and choose some of the things that they've used that has worked. So the late Kobe Bryant, one of the things he would always talk about was there's really no success or failure. There's only moments of education.
Yeah.
And I take that approach very seriously. But I think I may take it a little bit differently to calm myself with the acknowledgement of risk and what that means. Risk is only if you don't know what you're doing, then it's risky. But if you take the process of learning, reflecting on things that you're learning, looking at what other people have done as well previous to you, and you make a decision based on that, that's not necessarily risky. Now, it may be riskier to other observers, but for me, it really came down to that process of educating and teaching myself what that meant, which takes risk, if I can say that so boldly, because you don't know what the outcome is. And so it's that uncertainty that people are scared of. It's not risk, it's really fear that cause people not to make decisions. It has nothing to do with the risk of it, it has to do with the fear. So my litmus test is, did I die? When I made that decision, did I die? No. Okay, cool. So I can look at so many decisions I've made in my life and I didn't die. But even at the end of the day, as a Christian, my philosophy, my thought process in my Christianity is that's also not a bad thing either.
There you go.
So if I live a life of trying to focus on truth, if I live a life of where this business is God's business, I am His, then really me making decisions, fear are not a God emotion. Fear is a devil emotion. If we were to turn it into good and evil. And the reality is that is the baseline. And so reflecting on all that may sound like Bob is a total kook. That's okay. But the question is, how do I deal with risk? I just don't have the fear in making that decision, because there's not fear to have.
I love that.
That makes sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And uncertainty is just a part of life. And we have different levels of tolerance for that, but it is the reality. And for you as a successful business owner and as our listeners, our members, as high income earners, the more you get down the line, the more opportunities come your way. And it can be overwhelming to assess which ones are the right ones. And so oftentimes you might go for the safest, but the safest often don't give you the same rewards. So for you, I'm sure you have plenty of examples of this risk paid off and this risk didn't. What have you learned about how to assess the various opportunities that come your way?
Well, I think for the main thing is that every decision is in areas that I'm focused or I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's already some sort of, kind of lack of a better term, gut feeling.
Yeah.
But that gut feeling typically can be one of two things. One, your experience. Two, the Holy Spirit. And that gut feeling is, okay, yeah, I should probably do this. Or I need a little bit more information. But the decision to move forward with something, what is the negative consequence to moving forward with that? So you have to assess that beforehand before you even jump into a decision. Now, risk is, hey, I'm going to run and there's a cliff and I'm just going to jump off that cliff and I have no idea what's down there. That's risk.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy, maybe as well.
Sure.
But that's not what we do, especially in business, because there's a financial consequence to things. There's not a personal consequence. There's not a human consequence to business. There is a financial consequence to business. So if it's just money, then okay, my life's not at risk. So how do I reduce the risk to that financial consequence, the negative consequence? And so to your point, uncertainty is normal. Well, then how do I make it not uncertain? How do I make it certain? What do I need to do? Knowing, though, here's the thing that brings up the fear part, Erin, is that people still fear the decision to move forward on things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that fear is that negative emotion. That is why so many people today are dissatisfied and unhappy in their career, in their personal life, in their marriage, their parenting or fathering or brothering or sistering or whatever role they're playing in these relationships. I think it's a self understanding that I allowed that fear to hold me back.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point earlier in the introduction, it is a mindset. So if you're able to sweep that away, these decisions become not emotional decisions. They're actually logical decisions. You may not know the outcome, but you are still proceeding and moving forward in the direction that you want to go.
So how do you know when you have enough information to make a decision? Because we talk about that, like you just said, people waste their lives sitting in indecision, waiting for more information, waiting for the feeling like, yes, this is all going to work out. And it never comes. And so you don't do the things. And, talking about the regrets of the dying, one of them is, I wish I'd lived a life true to me. But another is, people way more regret the things that they never did than regretting the things they did, even the mistakes they made, because it was part of the journey and it made them who they were. So you're never going to have all the information, but obviously you can't just make blind decisions with. So how do you determine when it's enough?
So all my kids are home. I have 3 adult kids and they were all home this weekend. And so we were out and we went to a comedy show here in Dallas. And one of the skits they do is like the Big Brother skit, right? And so they pick a person from the audience, and one of the main people on stage that is part of the comedy skit acts as an 8-year-old kid. And this guy in the crowd becomes Big Brother. And so it's asking that kind of question. What do you do for a living? Well, what's that? How do you do that? Right? Acting like an 8-year-old. But the skit is pretty funny because people don't know how to answer these questions. And so he's acting like an 8-year-old, and it's pretty funny. But in that process, my family, and the point I wanted to bring up, we got together, and one of the questions the kid asked was, so what's your mantra in life? And so the guy said, well, my grandma used to always say, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. And so we got together. And so one of my youngest, Hannah, she's 20. She's like, so what's our mantra? And so we started asking each other
Mhm.
and finding out what each mantra. And so she came to me, and to keep it, the process of keeping it clean, Erin, my mantra. We have shirts that we made up for this. It is build it, break it, fix it.
Mm.
Because you know that no matter what information you have, the moment you go do something, the nature of law is for it not to work out.
Yeah.
Right. And so you know that. So you can never get enough information to eliminate the breaking. So rather than be fearful of the breaking, we build and then go actively in process of whatever this thing is to break it. We push it to the point to where it creates the breaking. So we can say, oh, here are the gaps we need to fix, rather than waiting for those things to happen from a reactive position. And now we're defensive and reacting. We want to be proactive and on the offensive, if you will. So then we have control over the breaking and we can get there quicker so we can fix it quicker. And this is what a lot of tech guys do. This is what Elon Musk does. This is what the thing that I learned from them versus traditional business owners from early in manufacturing and early years of middle century that built America. The new building of America. This is what they do, and it caused me to think about, there's a lot of logic to that. So rather than just waiting for stuff, go for it. And that you force yourself to grow. And by doing that, you're building your own confidence and sweeping that fear away. So others, again, see it as, oh, you like taking risk. But the reality is no, we actually want to go out and seek not the risk, but we want to seek the issues so we can be in control of fixing those.
So good. Build it, break it, fix it. Because
Yes.
it's that friction that creates the growth. And so if you
Yeah.
want to grow, the easy, smooth path is not going to create that. And the
Yeah.
faster you make those decisions, the more things you're going to learn along the way in this
Totally.
finite time that we have. So what would you leave people with? What would you say to people? Because we do see this a lot in our members, right? Where obviously there's different tolerances of risk. That's part of our
Yeah.
process, figuring
Yeah.
out what is your tolerance for risk. A lot of this is new information for them, but clearly some are willing to take more risks. But for those who are listening who have played it super safe, but maybe want to get bigger rewards and have more excitement even in their planning and their life, what advice would you give them to start thinking that way?
Well, I think the best thing to do is you can't do it alone, right? When society, I sorry, I just laughed out of the blue, but what I'm thinking of, what society talks about is self-made millionaires. There is no self-made millionaire. You need something, somebody's, other people in the community, in humanity, for someone to be able to be a quote unquote millionaire. Nobody just went out there and just said, I'm going to go do this, right? If you look at athletes, you look at computers, business, whatever it is, nobody is a self-made millionaire. What they're saying is that this individual on their own did not inherit, but went out there and fought. They built it, they broke it, they fixed it until they got to a certain financial peak that others saw them to be successful financially. And so because a lot of times society doesn't understand that, we say that they were self-made. And that is not true. That's not a reality. And so I think when it comes to our members, it's, we're here. We're here. We're helping you. We're taking all this advice and all this experience. You're a business owner, Erin. You've been in business before. You've tried other things. Same thing with Joe. Same thing with Megan. Most of the people on our team have been put in this position. Why we brought these people in, so we can bring all this experience together, different experiences, to build something special for our members. Right? So you get the opportunity to go out to build it, have us help you break it, even though we've already broken it so many other times, to where we can give you the Cliff Notes or cheat version of what to do.
Totally.
Doesn't mean there's not going to be issues that occur, right? There's something going on right now in the Middle East. We didn't plan it. We didn't do it. We knew it was going to happen, but history always says it's going to happen. Not that we knew this was going to happen. Something always happens. We just name it after it happens. So previously it was COVID or pandemic, right? Previous to that was great financial. Previous to that was the tech. Previous.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't pre-name something and make it happen. We build it, we break it, we fix it. And this is the reality of growth. And you can look at marriages as an example of this as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? You cannot grow a marriage by being passive. You have to get to know each other. You have to go do things. You have to risk things as a couple. Having kids? Are you kidding me? No matter what book is out there is wrong. And there's thousands of books, but it's not your story.
Mm-hmm.
And so those books can help give you an idea of what you can probably expect, but that ain't your story. You got to write your own story. And that's really from our members' perspectives. They need to write their own story. We're here to help them in that process as a co-author, if you will, to write that story and be able to do it with these guardrails that we've put in place because we've experienced some of the consequences. Stuff's still going to happen. Right. That's okay. We're here to hold each other up, pick each other up. But when the successes happen because those things that didn't happen weren't as bad as we thought they would be, then awesome. What an amazing feeling. Let's learn from that feeling and let's figure out how can we duplicate that feeling. Lastly, that's one of the things I always would tell my kids is that, everyone says, you can learn so much more from failure. And I don't like that term failure, but we'll just use that because that's what people understand commonly. You can learn so much from failure because things didn't go your way. But the hardest thing to learn from is success. How did we get here? We finally got here. How can we duplicate this? The hardest thing in sports is for a team to beat a team they've already beat. But when they do, they've learned from their success. This is why in sports, you don't have a lot of dynasties. And when we do, we call them dynasties because there's a process in place to learn from the success and duplicate that. So hard. It's easy to learn from things you don't feel good about. It's easy to learn from failure, right? We don't like that feeling. It's the fight or flight. The success, it's so much harder.
That's a really great perspective. So don't do it alone. Take bigger risks to get bigger results. And, we're here to help. So what I hope people take from this conversation is if you're feeling like you want to stop playing it so safe, you want to build more, grow more, you have to be comfortable with some uncertainty, or not even comfortable. You have to be just okay and step into some uncertainty. And risk isn't something to fear the way so many people do because you learn from every experience. You got to trust your instincts, learn along the way, and just keep moving forward, even if it doesn't all work out perfectly, because probably it won't, but that's okay. So Bob, thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you.
Doc, we hope that this gave you something to think about. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time. Until then, go out and take some risks and go be a wealth maverick.